I would say the highest order and really important communities today are those that people are coming together for exploring and navigating, where they want to take their career or their health, wellness, spiritual practices, and other important interests from, parenting to personal finance and, and everything in between. And when there is this positive context to it, that is really where communities shine.
Aloha, and welcome to another episode of Groundswell Origins Podcast, where I connect you to outstanding humans and sustainable ideas. I'm your host, Scott Martin. Today we're paddling in with one of the top community or virtual community experts in the world, Gina Bianchini, who is the CEO and founder of a credible platform called Mighty Networks. In full disclosure, that's now the platform that I myself am using with Groundswell Origins. And we do a deep dive into the importance of maintaining and having the ability to control or have direct access to your audience. And it's a complete new way of thinking of getting outside of social platforms and building your own virtual community. So we talk about some of the benefits, how you migrate, and so much more. So without further ado, let's paddle in. All right, we're paddling into another episode of the Groundswell Marketing Podcast. Today, I'm here with Gina Bianchi. Did I get that correctly this time?
No, but that's okay. It's Bianchini.
Bianchini. I said Bianchini. Bianchini. Oh man, it's like almost like when I start my podcast, I have a real trouble with people's names.
Yeah, so what happens is we psych ourselves out. It's like, oh, am I doing it right? And is it the right?
Totally did. And I said it 4 times before we started.
Yeah,
right.
It's okay.
Okay. Well, it's like, anyone that listens to my podcast, they always hear me apologize for butchering people's names. And it drives my wife crazy. She thinks I have some kind of condition. And there actually is a condition where some people are really struggle with people's names. And I think I have that. You know what?
It's totally normal.
It's a curse because it's the most important name that people share or words that people share. So, thank you for being on the show, Gina. And today we're talking about virtual communities. And what a great topic, because given the economy, the state of affairs, the cultural shifts that are going on, virtual communities, I think, have always been really valuable. But I think we've hit a really different sort of cadence with it. And Gina, you're an expert at this. You've got a platform that I've been on. It's incredible. It's called Mighty Networks. And we're not here to necessarily talk about Mighty Networks, but because you've done all that work on Mighty Networks and you've had such a great insight, you've seen patterns. And I would love to hear a little bit of the backstory of what led into your desire to either create Mighty Networks or get into virtual communities overall.
Yeah. So I've been working in this world of community for a zillion years now, over a decade. And, my passion for online communities and actually communities in the real world is that, fundamentally, when given an opportunity for people to be awesome, the vast majority of people will be awesome. And when I look at what is possible with online communities or communities in general, I fell in love with the people organizing, or we think about it as hosting communities, and we talk about folks that build communities on Mighty Networks. And it's not just communities, it's courses, it's events, it's subscriptions and memberships, and they all ladder up to what we think about and talk about as a community network effect, meaning our platform is for communities that get more valuable to every member with each new person who joins and contributes. And when I just look at that person who is hosting a community and the energy and enthusiasm and excitement about their particular topic. We think about it as your big purpose. And that is the motivation for your community. It's just, there's no better people. There's no better effort. And especially today, communities are even more valuable to folks when the world is moving very fast and things are somewhat uncertain, because there's a reason why we come together with other people when we want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, or, we've got a common goal, or, we want to build new skills or need new rules to a new game that's changing very quickly. And so that's why I love this. And I love the work that we do, and, are very fortunate to be growing rapidly as there's this real move underway from content alone, or from, trying to make social media work for building real relationships, to this new world of a community network effect, where it's about creating your own space, away from the noise and clutter of social media, that people can really get to know each other in pursuit of and mastery of, a bigger purpose.
And that was a great intro to your, what brought you into this. But if someone's listening, they're going, well, I'm not quite clear what a virtual community is. What description can you describe to them of either what is a virtual community, and is there different types?
Yeah. So yes. So there are different types, but fundamentally a community, and this is true for virtual or in real life, is a way for people to come together in one place, ideally around a topic or an interest or a passion or a lifestyle or a goal, and to build relationships with the other people who are in that community in pursuit of mastering something interesting or important together. So how do people do that? They do that through member profiles. So the ability to see other people who are on this same journey, message those people, but it's more than that. And I think that that's actually like the next generation of communities. It also includes events. It also includes, live video streaming. It also includes polls and questions and prompts where people can contribute their stories, their ideas, and their experiences. It includes the ability to write a post. It includes the ability to add a photo. It includes the ability to capture a video and upload it to a community. And all of it, though, is done with context of what is the thing we want to do together. And that, that I would say the highest order and really important communities today are those that people are coming together for exploring and navigating, where they want to take their career or their health, wellness, spiritual practices, and other important interests, from, parenting to personal finance and, and everything in between. And when there is this positive context to it, that is really where communities shine.
And is it any different than a mastermind? Because that's a word that's been bubbling up. I'm in the Tony Robbins bubble, and he uses masterminds. I know what their definition is, but I'm curious if are virtual communities intertwined with masterminds, or are they separate? I
think they're a subset of virtual communities, and they have sort of a more specific structure to them, but they absolutely fall in the umbrella of online or virtual communities. Mm-hmm. They just have, in the same way that I would argue an online course falls in the certainly the best, most effective online courses also fall into the context of and the umbrella of virtual communities. So I think about virtual communities as being sort of the higher level bucket for whether it's masterminds or whether it is conferences or whether it is whether it's online courses or other types of convenings. And what they all share in common is that the whole point is that you are meeting people, you are bringing people together, and you are meeting people in pursuit or in the quest to master something interesting or important together.
Agreed. And I've been in lots of communities, different ones. Like the spectrum goes from, I've been in a Facebook community, which it felt directionless in some cases, and people were like kind of spammy in it. And in some cases it was great. It was very well curated, all the way to being on a community on your platform, which is incredible. It was really organized. It felt really disciplined, and I felt really connected to, and it felt really enclosed. Actually, it felt like, I hate to say the word safe space, but it was just more like it was just like, it didn't feel like it was public. I felt like I invested in it, and it felt like it was worth the investment. I could jump on my phone and stuff like that. And then,
another way to think about it is, if you're uncomfortable and because of all the connotations of safe space, it has focus. We have designed Mighty Networks to be able to offer people the ability to focus on their big purpose, the motivation for the community, and then have really clear ways for, people to, interact with each other and, to learn the stories, experiences, and ideas of other people so that you can take them and remix them and bring them into your life or your goals or the practices and habits that you want to build, and ultimately the life that you want to live.
From a business standpoint, communities can be quite lucrative. I mean, I just did an interview with Robbie Baxter, who has written the Forever Transaction, when we just a long segment on subscription economy. And, a lot of communities, they have a subscription model, which I think is really quite attractive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are the people paying for community or course access on Mighty Networks, and the transaction volume on just the pieces that are running through our payment system grew in December 425%.
Whoa, no way. Amazing.
So just the adoption of, we talk about it and we have kind of our own, framework, which we call community design. And our promise of community design is, we want to offer and really synthesized over the course of, hundreds of thousands of communities that we've had the opportunity to have a front row seat to, a community that you can craft such that it is so valuable that people will pay for it, and so well designed it will essentially run itself. And for a lot of people, that's an oxymoron. It's like, wait, no, the whole point is that people pay me for my content and for my expertise, and that's what I'm building. And I have to fight really hard to get people to interact because everybody's so busy. That's just not true. It's certainly not true in 2021, because when you get the motivation, that big purpose, your motivation for the community right, you are tapping into the results and transformation that people want to get in their lives. And so they show up highly motivated. And what we know is that people pay attention to what they pay for. And so they're able to actually get better results because they're paying more attention when they pay for something.
Isn't
and then
that the
from
truth?
there, yeah, exactly. So then from there, what's great is that as they achieve results and transformation, they're in that process for doing it, they are going to contribute more. So it does actually run itself. So, I think we are going to see a major shifting and reframing this year around what so many creators or so many people that, wanted to offer others, whether it's online courses or access to a virtual community or subscriptions. We're going to shift from thinking about things in terms of, people pay for my content, they follow me for my content, to how do I create that community network effect? Create a community where, sure, I'm writing something or I have a podcast that brings people in, but that they stay and they see ongoing sustainable value because of the relationships that they are building with other members, because of the access to stories and experiences and ideas of other members that any of us can remix in what we want to do and how we achieve our goals, how we achieve our results and transformation. And that, I think, is the future, not just of virtual communities, but how we build niche brands online, how we run and grow digital subscriptions, and ultimately how we sell digital products as well.
Tell me about the niche brands. How does that tie in there?
Well, so when you look at a niche brand, it starts with identity. You are serving a product or service to a narrowly defined set of people that in many cases, they're sort of multi-hyphenate. And as you think about bringing multi-hyphenate people together in the way that the internet can uniquely do it, what's so fun is they want to meet each other. And so as you think about, a product that serves a niche, that niche in and of itself wants to meet other members, and you can build relationships in some very cool ways. So, for example, one of the a thriving community on Mighty Networks is something called Wassail Volet. And Wassail is a brand for women's athletic wear. And Wassail Volet is their paid membership community that is for those women who are members to find each other for running clubs and other kinds of meetups. So not only has that been wildly successful for them in connecting people and running a digital subscription, but obviously it gives you purpose and meaning in the products and the products you buy, which is, it's like, you don't want running shorts unless you're going to go running or sitting on your couch, depending on what you actually want to do in your day. So that's really the
it's like an extension of the brand. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I was thinking like maybe product development or something, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you said multi
and
hyphenated or something. What was that?
Yeah, and I would also say that product. I mean, the best way to understand product innovation is to have direct relationships with your customers. Mm-hmm. And that's what a community gives you. So being able to convene and bring people together that, and when I mean a multi-hyphenate, it's, the narrower and narrower niches, so that's what a niche brand is from where I'm sitting.
And you said multi-hyphenated or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, it might be a woman who is a graduating senior from high school who's going to take a gap year. She's not just taking a gap year or just graduating from high school. She's graduating from high school and taking a gap year. That's what I mean by multi-hyphenate. Mm-hmm. And the narrower you get, the more passionate and the more motivated somebody is to meet other people like themselves. I
see what you're saying. So it's like very targeted. So if I say, look, I want to work with founders that are in $8 to $10 million a year companies that are disenfranchised, I want to reconnect with their business.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And you can even get more, you could go 1 or 2 levels down from that, where it's in a certain geography or, a certain vertical or industry. And all of those just get narrower and narrower and narrower.
And do you find that works? They get more success when they are very narrow like that?
Yeah. Yes, because people hear themselves. It's a little bit like we were talking about at the beginning, where it's like, the most important word for most people is their own name. When you hear people talk to you, in a way that you describe yourself or think about yourself, we don't think about ourselves as like people who are motivated or business owners, that like the more that we think about ourselves, it is in these sort of narrower terms.
Yeah, it's
and
like
that's been
people say the same
increasingly.
similar type of phrases or
Yeah.
experiences they can kind of
Yeah.
collaborate on.
Yeah.
Well, in a community though, sometimes like what if in a community you want to well, maybe this is the type of community, but I'm just thinking like where you're like you don't want to be with your peers, or you like to learn from other modalities or something.
Yeah, that's fine too. It's again then about how the host of that community wants to craft how people meet each other. So it may not be it may not be around how big your business is or what industry it is. It might even be around geography. So
Mm-hmm.
I always think about it as if you have a geographically focused business, or you have a business that sells subscriptions, two different businesses in those two examples, you want to meet people that still have that in common. But for example, if you're a flower shop, you might actually want to be talking to flower shops in Chicago or in Nashville so that you can learn from them and apply it to your geography in San Francisco. So that to me is an example of that sort of cross function. Or alternatively, if you run a subscription business that is for food products, and somebody else has a subscription business for, home care, like there just might be really interesting things to learn from each other. And in both cases, you're using the commonality of digital subscriptions to learn from each other.
Are these like, so I'm sure they're all very different, but they're guided, but do they follow like sort of like a sequence, like, themed by month, or it escalates, or what happens? Would you be kind of bored after a period of time? Like, is there some of them have a lifespan? Like, how does it work in terms of length and time and stuff with ones that you've seen that are successful?
Yeah, it's a great question. So fundamentally, no, people don't get bored with the community when there is when there's a big purpose, when there is progress and movement in the community. We think about that piece, so we have sort of five pieces of we have five pieces of community design, and it starts with your big purpose, the motivation for your community, moves into the year in the life. Like where is a member of your community a year from now, and what are they doing differently then that they're not doing today? Then what are you doing differently, or what opportunities do you have then that you don't have today? And then moving into, three execution parts or components of a successful, thriving community: monthly themes, a weekly calendar, and daily actions or daily polls and questions. And those three things, monthly themes keeps it interesting and gives some focus to the conversations over the course of the month. A weekly calendar builds a habit amongst your members. So every Tuesday at 9 a.m., whether they're just getting a notification in their notification, in their email inbox or on their phone, they know that this community has a regular cadence that they are consistently executing. And over 30 days, that is how you build a habit. And then daily polls and questions or daily actions are designed to build those relationships with each, between members. So it's not so much about, I have a direct relationship with a member as a host, but rather I am facilitating conversations through polls and prompts and, potentially events through daily actions or daily polls and questions. And that taken together will enable just about anybody to create a successful community.
Perfect. And there's some communities that I've seen that they just continue just to grow. Like, for example, maybe this is a word that doesn't work because in Facebook, they have communities, and I've set up communities. I've got one of the largest communities around surf art on Facebook. And it's been around for a long time. That one's really vibrant. I've had some other ones that are just like Deadville. There's no engagement, and I've had to block people from, spamming and uploading stuff. And my thought was I would want to find a way to migrate people from my Facebook group to a paid group. And I was just curious, what's your sort of experience or thoughts on someone that's looking at doing that?
Yeah. So people have had a lot of success with that. We actually have, and I'll share it with you, a 17-page guide that has been very popular over the course of this year for moving your Facebook group. And, it is, and the reason, just to take a step back, the reason that Facebook is challenging to build a community network effect, a community that gets more valuable to every member with each new person who joins and contributes, is because first of all, Facebook, they are built to keep people on Facebook, not in your group. And so because of that, most people experience a Facebook group threaded in between other posts in other contexts. So you actually lose the context in a Facebook group because most of your members are moving very quickly from news articles or outraged friends and family, because outrage actually is much more likely to be surfaced and spread through and to more people because of the way the Facebook algorithm works. Mm-hmm. And so your group is fighting for attention of any individual in that context, and you have absolutely no control who sees which posts from your group at any point in time. That is completely controlled by the algorithm and the black box that is Facebook. So on a Mighty network, you are able to share with people that coming from Facebook, this is just a different thing. It's like having our own Facebook, where whether it's topics, whether it's courses, whether it's subgroups, our feeds are comprised of all the things that are the most relevant to you. And then you as the host, you, the member, you as the host, at any point in time, everybody will always see your posts. And you can notify all members.
Is all IP and all data and stuff in ownership of the community owner?
Yeah. So the way that our terms of service work is, you own your community. So we own the software because that's how we are able to do all the things we're able to do. But in terms of your members own their content, you have 100% access to all your, what your members are doing, including their email address and what activities and what they're contributing. And that is how we sort of structure it. We just have a license to be able to run people's content and contributions. And you as the host have full access to member data as well as content, as well as analytics.
Got it. And what would be some of the top 5 or whatever, I don't know what the list would be, but biggest mistakes people make when they try to launch a virtual community?
I actually think that it's really 2. One is not being specific enough in your big purpose. Not like saying, oh, my community is for all humans on the planet, or curious people, or any of those kinds of things. And the more specific you are, the more someone hears themselves being talked to in the context of of the community that you're building. So specificity really matters. The second thing is, and this is unique to 2020 and 2021, which is it's really important that you are explicit with people as to what they need or should do to interact and contribute to your community such that they will be viewed positively by other members. The culture guide. So that might be, hey, here's how we approach DMing other members here. Here's how we think about posting. Here's how we think about promoting your stuff or not promoting your stuff. All of those kinds of things, the faster you are to spell them out and the more opportunities through a monthly calendar, a monthly theme, a weekly calendar, and daily actions that you are giving people the ability to contribute, the more successful your community will be. So people come for that motivation, but you got to harness that energy and that excitement and motivation by giving people things that are really specific to do.
It's funny because that didn't even occur to me, those two. I was thinking you were going to say something like commitment and consistency, like actually committing to doing the community and being consistent with it. I thought that might be like a common, it's like podcasting. Like how many people have 3-4 episodes and then they're abandoned? I think that represents like 98% of the podcast universe, right?
Yeah. Here's why that to me, if you don't have a big purpose, you are much more likely to abandon it.
Yeah.
And if you don't actually have a culture guide and ways that you want people to interact, you're going to be doing all the work and you're more likely to abandon it. So if you kind of ladder up from consistency and say, well, what should I consistently be doing? What you want to do is make sure you have a big purpose and make sure you give people really specific ways of achieving that big purpose.
What's the largest ticket item community you've ever seen?
That's a good question. Ever seen? I mean, it's in the tens of thousands of dollars range. And typically
a month or a year? Or?
No, a year.
Okay.
And, that's typically for, a mastermind focus, very clear reasons for doing it, and people getting fantastic results from it as well.
What's the average price then?
The average price is really not a very helpful number because it's a power law curve one, meaning, it's kind of distributed all over the place. And then the second thing is, what does it matter? Like, you have to look at your own community and what you are able to deliver in terms of value, the results and transformation that people, again, want to pay for.
It's interesting because it was in a conversation we had. I think I mentioned to you before we started that I was hosting a clubhouse, and the question came up about, what to charge, and, not valuing it too low, but not making it prohibitive, and price testing on a course, can be very problematic because it's just hard to kind of switch around. It's not like just like floating a cost on a product and then changing your product cost because people are involved in the course and they're sharing and so forth. So that's why I was kind of asking that, just kind of curious. But I'm sure, I get that. You got to be able to float your own way. That's what I tell people all the time in marketing. Like, it doesn't much matter what other people are doing, but still people want to get benchmark. They want to get a better sense of what's out there. I would assume like, $49.95 or something a month, but who knows? You're seeing the whole gamut, I'm sure, in your end.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about like things like this? So I'm podcasting and I've got an audience, and I want to connect them. Like, that's actually something I'm looking to do myself. So I'm scratching my own itch by actually even doing this interview. Is, I have some course that I want to build. My book's coming out. It'll be in spring. And my intention was to actually launch Groundswell Academy. But listening to you, it's making me think about it a little differently. And so I'm thinking a little bit about, do I change it to a subject matter around creating a community on people who are committed to this, the art and science of sustainable growth marketing, organic ways of building your business without paid advertising. Versus, here's a 4-part section of my book that I'm going to make into a course and build a community to walk you through and help you with that.
Yeah, I think you do both. And what I would encourage you to consider, and there's really 2 ways that you could do it. But what I would encourage you to consider is you create the community and the course lives within the community. The alternative would be to say, like, the course is what brings people in and then they stay for the community. You can do it really either way. In my experience, having the community is just really powerful. And then you can look at the course as essentially onboarding.
Interesting.
Like,
so
onboarding into
the course
community
is the chocolate shake. They stay for the green smoothie, which is the relationships.
Yes.
I believe that. Because when I joined Tony Robbins' partnership, I thought I was going there to learn everything there was to know from Tony, all his courses, get to close to Tony or something. And the reality was at the end of the year, it was all the relationships with the other plats.
Exactly.
And I'm still friends with them today. And was the biggest asset from that whole experience.
It always is. It always is.
Have you heard of John Hagel?
And that's the difference between content and a community network effect. What you just described, that, you showed up because of Tony and like the lectures that he would give, the keynotes that he would give, the event he would organize. But the power of that event was the other people that you meet. And that translates online much more effectively than, watching 40 more hours of Tony Robbins videos that after a while you're like, all right, I got it. But like, how are people applying this?
And in a virtual community, how much do you have to be present? Like if you're the one that's leading the community, is it remotely guided, or is there a live component to this? To successful ones, anyways.
I think it's certainly there's a live component to it, and that's the weekly calendar. Everything you want to do is in those 5 parts of community design. You should take the community design masterclass, as a matter of fact. So, the monthly themes, the weekly calendar, and daily polls and questions. As part of the weekly calendar, you can go live and organize a live event. What we have found in the live events that we do, it's the relationships with other people you're meeting in the live event, or stories that you're hearing from people, that really creates a pretty magical dynamic. It creates that community network effect.
Does that live event reside in your platform, or that's like on Zoom?
Yeah, so we built Zoom integration in, so you can go directly from a event link into Zoom on the web, and then on the mobile apps, it actually plays directly in the mobile apps. And beyond that, we will have live streaming as well as live video. Well, it's live video shortly. So we're actually working on that as we speak.
And for anyone that was listening, and I just said Clubhouse, maybe some people don't know what that is. It's an audio platform, social platform, where you can, talk and have a room and talk about a certain topic or whatever. And you can do it scheduled. And it sounds, and you were saying that you have one weekly actually on there. And is that a community as well, or is that just more like
it's a room? That we open up and we have conversations, but it's more about having a conversation about this sort of bigger picture of all the things we're talking about here, but being able to really do that live.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pop-up meet and greet, or a pop-up coffee chat or something. It's the only way I can sort of describe it. It's not really, or even a pop-up mastermind, because sometimes people are contributing and helping solve problems together. I've seen that. And it kind of goes away. It's not recorded. So that's one of the downsides. It's not really sustainable, but maybe that's what makes it kind of cool and different as well. There's like all these incredible platforms. So if you're to think ahead, okay, future of virtual communities, what do you see?
Well, here's how I'd answer that. We are working at Mighty Networks towards a vision that we have of the world where there are 1 million unique and vibrant communities mastering something interesting together, that are led by brands and creators and fueled by digital subscriptions and products. And so in that context, I think we're going to see the emergence of new, more positive cultures online and in the real world. If we do our jobs right, the mixing and remixing of who we get to meet in our lifetimes is profound and cool and interesting. We go from being, consumers of feeds and watching people do stuff to actually building things together and enabling people to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And I think that's, we have work to do to make those increasingly, the demand for those to be increasingly positive as opposed to destructive. Mm-hmm. And that's the world I want to work towards. And I wake up every day looking to figure out how to to do my part. And so that's what I believe. There's just going to be a massive emergence of new and interesting and vibrant communities that are smaller and that are, dedicated to a specific topic with a unique take on it, that is fresh and interesting. That is really exciting to me.
I think it's a healthy addiction because right now I believe that people are getting satiated with scrolling and consuming content. And what I've experienced in some of the communities is some pretty profound insights that would never gotten anywhere else. And, woken up some really great insights about what I'm capable of when I've helped somebody, which is, I think, something that gave me a wellspring of energy, like this podcast. When I get emails when people tell me like, oh my gosh, you changed the way I did something, like it gives me so much juice. Right. And, I think that, you're right. I think that that noble cause that you're trying to really kind of really reframe, maybe how we interact with the world, or at least be a part of it. I think that the rest won't go away. I think that's an interesting notion because that's what I'm really experiencing with the communities that I've been in, the courses that were around a community and Clubhouse, the app and stuff. As I see that the creation that it couldn't have been created by one. It's created by the combined. Like, you know what I mean? Like the definition of every one of these communities was defined by the culture that was created in the moment around that course that I took with the community. It wasn't just the course. It's got a different flavor to it.
Yeah.
And then I go to another one and I'm like, it's totally different. In some ways you're like, oh man, it's not the same as ones before. So you really find value in it. And the new one has different in its own way. I guess my one question is like, what about these communities that are recorded and all this stuff? Is it possible to recycle a community experience and have someone new jump in on something that's been generated from the past?
Yes, I do think that is certainly something that's possible. I also think there's magic in cohorts. So the question is sort of how you utilize that and how you do that. Certainly, again, you can use the same framework of community design, whether the guidance is video based or live, for sure. And
it just doesn't have the same energy as what you're saying. But like the example would be like people that record a really great webinar and they're like, oh my God, it was like, and then you can go watch it and it feels like you're watching it live because you're seeing people's questions, but it was recorded. So it has like, you're getting the benefit, but it's not the same as actually being live. Like,
right.
I'm just wondering, in virtual communities, are people recycling that way?
They are, for sure. What the community does together is also, the important part. So you can take a video, and as long as the video is driving people that are, doing it at the same time to do that work, it actually works really nicely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited about building my virtual community, and I'm going to make the decision now with you that I'm going to just take massive action and start it, because I feel like I've been waiting to get my book out and build the course and kind of build scaffolding. And I guess the question I have for you is, how much work do you need to have done in advance before you start it? Because there's two camps. One is have a proper structure and build it out. Another is just need to be in front of the class. Is that all it really is?
Yeah, I think you need a lightweight framework. You do not need to take 6 months and make fancy videos and have 40 hours of 40 hours of taped content and all, programming and all this stuff. What you need though is a big purpose. You want to know where things are going, meaning the year in the life. You want to have, 3 months of themes. A weekly calendar is what you really need, and then daily actions, and you're good to go. That's it.
Seems simple enough.
It is.
Is it that simple?
It kind of is that simple.
Well, that's pretty amazing. Well, thank you again so much for being on the show. I really am happy that we got a chance to talk about virtual communities. Is there anything that you feel that we missed or is really important to bring to light around someone considering one, or just the overall state of virtual communities and where it's going?
I mean, I think we've covered a fair amount of ground.
Awesome.
A fair amount of ground. So I really appreciate the time.
I'm going to hopefully not think of questions afterwards, but I can't thank you enough for this, because I really believe that virtual communities are here to stay and they're critical to businesses. And I think, if there's one thing I was going to ask you to, maybe sort of like share with us is there like, what are, like, if someone's going, well, I'm a plumber, I don't need a virtual community. Like, is there a way you can kind of communicate, like, how far and how crazy, or what would someone, if you could describe one or two communities that nobody would even thought of and they worked really well, what would they be?
Say that one more time. I'm not sure I totally followed the question. Sorry.
Imagine somebody goes, I don't know if I can build a virtual community. I don't know if I have, like, my business or what I'm offering is, viable for virtual community. Is there an example one where you went, this sounds really crazy, but they have virtual community and it's vibrant?
Oh man, there are so many that I don't necessarily like. I'll share one of my favorite communities, which is the Slow AF Run Club, and this is a community run by Martinez Evans. He's got a thriving Instagram following at 300 pounds and running. This is for back of the pack runners. And he's building a really special, inclusive place that is about how people, take on new challenges that don't have to be about weight loss and start where they are. And it's just really cool. So I think that's an example, and it's not only thriving, but I think it actually represents, the fact that for every activity, there's a new niche. And that's what we're here for. There's a set of people that are like, that is my new home. And this is a place where I belong, and I'm going to be able to fully do the things that I want to do, that I just can't achieve on my own. And that's why we're all here. That's why community exists, virtual or otherwise. And it's exciting. That's
perfect example that I was looking for, hoping for. When people ask me about niching, like, how narrow should I go, and can I build a brand or a product, and I go, there is literally an example that you would never imagine that should just take you to the far reaches that you could be safely, that you could probably figure out something really niche that you wanted to, which is, there's this group called Heavy Metal Knitting, and they actually have heavy metal and yarn knitting. And it's in I think it's Finland. They have like a course, and it's in Japan and stuff, but they have a whole community around this. And I'm like, if they can succeed, heavy metal and knitting, two things you just don't think would ever go together, then I think you're probably pretty good. You could go pretty niche-y.
Yep, for sure. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much
for being on the show. And everyone that's listening, I just would like to maybe just share with them where they can find you or follow you.
Yeah. So mightynetworks.com is by far the best place to go and begin a journey on community building and exploration. And I sometimes post on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is just at Gina B. I've been on Twitter a while.
Boom.
So, but thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for being on the show, and everyone listening, thank you again. If you have any comments, please go to groundswell.fm. There's a microphone there. Hit record, send me a voicemail. Love to hear from you. And until next time, mahalo.